So who are these kids that we're discussing? A lot of times we see them and we know that, and not all of these may apply to each child, but frequently these are kids with low self-esteem, they have very little motivation, or so it appears. Frequently they've been given the diagnosis or certification of ADHD, but even if they haven't been, they frequently have those descriptors. They're inattentive, they're unorganized, they have trouble following directions, those kinds of descriptors. What some people don't realize, and some of you do, because I've heard many parents come and talk to me and they say, but my child is so bright. Let's not forget that. Many of these kids are bright, and they're still sometimes getting the poor grades. Many of them are creative. Frequently what I see is the students who have a lot of difficulty in school, who don't resonate with that material, a lot of times what's going on is their brains, it's like they're wired differently. Their interests are different. They are very visual in the visual arts, you know, music, dance, theater, and frequently too, what I find is a lot of these students have a tendency towards anxiety. They're very sensitive, and they're very sensitive to their world. So let's think about this sensitivity. A lot of times these students that I talk to, and you'll probably resonate with this, some of you anyway, they'll describe themselves as, they'll come into the classroom, and I'll say, you know, how's chemistry? This was a real thing. How's chemistry class going for you? And my high school student said, the TV monitor is making the worst high-frequency pitch, and I cannot stand being in that classroom. It's like all I hear. I've been in and out of that room. As a teacher consultant, frequently I had to go into classrooms and make observations. I go in and out and talk to the teachers. I'm like, what are you talking about? I've never heard that. But I don't say that out loud. I'm saying that in my head. And so I went to the classroom and checked it out, and when I got really silent and I really paid attention, I noticed that there indeed was the high-frequency sound of the TV. A lot of these kids that we are seeing who have difficulty in school are very, very acutely attuned to their senses. They hear so clearly. And you're laughing because you're saying, yeah, well, if I ask him to come to the table for dinner, he doesn't come. If I tell him to clean up his room, he doesn't hear me. But you'll also notice, if you pay attention, that frequently, this is the kind, not every child is like this, but this is the kid who could be sitting in the other room, seemingly minding his own business, and you're in the other room talking, and he heard you. But he didn't hear you to ask him, you know, to clean up. That he doesn't hear. But they are very attuned to their hearing. They see so much. Some of these students have described for me that their visual world is taking in everything. Now this is a fairly sterile room, but if I was an extremely attuned, sensitive student, I would have come in here and I would have noticed instantly the bottles of water, the colored overlays and the colored paper, all the different things on the table, all the hooks in the room, the clock, you know, all the little things, and it would have been instantaneous. And sometimes it can become, and then you get into personality style. We have some people who really persevere, and some people who have personality styles where they just give up easily. Now, if you've got a student who has areas that are a little bit more of a challenge for them, but they don't mind persevering and pushing through it, and they're going to get it no matter what, and they're the ones who come in, and these are probably not the children that you're here thinking about, but those are the children who say, Mrs. Smith, I finished it, and I wrote 3 extra pages for you, and I colored it all in with really nice markers. What else can I do? Please give me more math problems tomorrow. Okay, those are probably not the kids that you're here talking about. So a lot of these kids that we're here talking about, besides having these other issues, some or all, frequently are not the ones who persevere. Frequently they're minimalists. And sometimes that's part of the way their brain is thinking. I think it's kind of cool, and I get kind of frustrated too, not with them, but with the situation. They come in and they have to write a paragraph. And the paragraph has to be about a particular theme or topic. And they sit down and they write it. And they say, okay, Mrs. Lipson, here it is. And I said, how long does it need to be? Half page. How much do you have? 3 lines. Okay, we got a problem here, don't we? Mm-hmm. All right, what else can we say? I said it all. And I take a look at it, and they did. They really did. They were able to be very concise and say all that needed to be said about that in those 3 lines. So that can be a real difficulty, and then you have to teach them how to, throw in some more adjectives and where you can. Okay, the irony of perfectionism, you can teach that. But some of we talked about the irony of being gifted. What's really strange is a lot of times you're going to see these kids who don't do a whole lot of work, and you're going to think these are not kids who are perfectionists. And I'm here to tell you that if you really get deep inside them, frequently they are. They have such high standards of what they think things need to be. And frequently these are the artists, writers, musicians, visual arts. Because artists have such a high level of expectation of what things are supposed to look like. It can never meet their goals, their standards. And so we think they have no standards or very low standards, but frequently they actually have such high standards that nobody could meet that standard. There's just no way that anybody could reach it. But they think that that's the appropriate standard. So we have to teach them what's real and what's realistic. A lot of times these kids with perfectionism also have a lot of anxiety. They appear frustrated. One of the things that I've really been recommending to my students this year, and I was just teasing 2 of them today. I bet you're real thrilled you came in to see Lipson today, because guess what Lipson's going to suggest? Lipson's going to actually suggest you do homework all the time. But hang in there with me, because here's why. So what I found is, a lot of times, kids start at the beginning of the year and they're really revved up and motivated. And what's cool is, for many of you who are sitting here, your children are still at that point. They're still all excited. They're coming home every day. They've got their work done, and it hasn't started to burn out yet. And that's really cool. And if it starts to burn out, it's not because they don't care and they're trying to get your goat. It's just a real challenge, and they're doing the best they know how. They really do believe that this year is going to be better, and this card marking is going to be better than it ever has been before. But then one day, their teacher actually doesn't have homework assignments for them. It sometimes happens. And they come home, and they say to you, you say, where's your homework? I don't have any homework. And you say something like, you're kidding. I can't believe you don't have homework. No, Mom, Dad, really, truly, I don't have homework today. I got it all done at school, and I really don't have homework. And the truth is, they're telling you the truth. They really don't have homework. And finally you say, okay, you can go out and play, you can go into a video game, whatever it is, and you buy it. But what happens is, a couple days later or a week later, they do have homework. They're not in the mood to do it, and they're remembering how easy that was. And so now they come back to you and they say, I don't have homework. And you go through the whole song and dance. And you're kidding. What do you mean you don't have homework? You've got to have homework. No, really, Mom, Dad, I don't have homework. Oh, okay then. So what I tell the kids is, don't allow yourself to break the pattern. It needs to be a habit, just like every morning you brush your teeth, every day you wash your face, every day you're going to do schoolwork. And it doesn't have to be a long time. Even for my high schoolers, I'll tell them, it can be 20 minutes. Partly that's because I'm bright, and I know that if I suggested they sit for 2 hours and they can't stand homework to begin with, I'd never get any buy-in. But 20 minutes is okay, because it's setting up the pattern. And then I'm real quick to let them know, but that's minimal. If you really do have homework, you've got to work longer than 20 minutes. You've got to work till it's done.
And then my final thought
so a specified amount of time. I want you really focusing on supporting. I don't want there to be